Here he is once again, Vancouver Canucks color analyst, our old friend. There have been two people in the history of this program who did daily hits with us, Jeff Patterson, and our next guest, the one and only Dave Tomlinson.
It's the circle of life. He's back.
Congratulations, buddy. I'm absolutely delighted for you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. It's kind of surreal, to be honest with you. After I had finished playing hockey for a living, all I wanted to do was talk about hockey, and you kind of dream big. And for me, it was doing color commentary for the Vancouver Canucks. Had that chance on the radio, but the big nut was always, I would love to be on TV and be able to talk about everything I see all at once. So fortunate for this opportunity, and just really looking forward to get going.
I don't want to get fans too excited, but of course you took over from a legend, Tom Larscheid, on the radio side originally. And in your first year, you went to the Stanley Cup final with the team.
Yeah. So it's him, huh? He's the rabbit's foot.
I'm just saying, usually his debut year is a good one. Now, the scale might be different. It may not be Stanley Cup final, but if they make the playoffs this year, it could have been because of you, Dave.
If they do, then I'll pat myself on the back. Following Tom Larscheid was no easy feat. And then, of course, the same thing with following John Garrett. Cheech has been fantastic. We've talked a couple times this summer, but just to be able to call games for the team that I grew up watching, to be honest. And so here at training camp, looking forward to getting things going, and of course heard the comments from the general manager about what the expectations are for this team.
How much does it help that you've worked with Shorty in the past? Like, you hit the ground running, you guys already have chemistry, right?
Yeah, tremendously, actually. Shorty is one of the best, and being able to start with him on radio and learn kind of the ropes from him, and then now to be able to bring that to television. And when I was in Seattle, I was watching Canuck games and watching John and John do their thing. I just really enjoy watching both of them. And so I was out with Shorty last night, had a bite to eat, and we were just reminiscing. We both have our quirks, but the best way for a color guy to ingratiate himself with the play-by-play guy, say, it's your booth, you do your thing, and when you need me, I'll be here.
At this lunch, how much ketchup was applied to your meal?
As an homage.
It was sans ketchup, so I guess it's a new environment here.
And you used cutlery probably too, didn't you?
No, you know what? For West Coast, I had a tuna poke bowl, so I was using chopsticks.
That is the most anti-Cheech thing you could possibly.
Things have changed.
Yes.
Oh, man.
So you were famous / infamous for your turns of phrase. Do you have some rhyme schemes set up already for goal calls? Have you started to imagine that? What can you do with Bluger? Is what I'm wondering. Anything that you've pre-written yet, or no?
No, and it's interesting. I don't write these things out, and I had a lot of free reign in Seattle.
They come off the top of your head. No way, really, huh?
Yeah. Well, you know what it is something will happen, and there's this this Rolodex of things coming through my head, and then something hits, and I blurt it out. So every once in a while, I'll kind of flirt with an idea of if it's a big goal. I like to kind of rhyme or invoke some sort of funny sayings. I was telling Shorty last night, there was a Jordan Everly goal. Of course, I did some work with the Kraken, where it's nice spin around backhand and he put it in. It was a pretty big goal at the time. It was a home game. And so Everett, my play-by-play guy at the time, did his part. And then it came out of me like, Spinorama, how's your mama? And Shorty goes, what does that even mean? And I'm like, I don't know, but that's what came up. No, for television, it'll probably
Sedinery was better than that, by the way.
The guy who coined Sedinery.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see what happens.
Bingo Bango Bongo. His name is Roberto Luongo, one of Tommy's old ones. What does that mean either?
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Doesn't have to mean anything.
Doesn't need to mean anything. Just needs to sound cool. And Dave Tomlinson has that down pat. What do you make of this hockey club, Dave?
Well, I mean, obviously they've got some stars, right? Elias Pettersson, from the time he came into the league and his growth, his maturity, I think that he's starting to understand that putting points on the board isn't the be-all, end-all. And the individual accolades, they're nice for the trophy case, but you're really looking for that team win. So I think there's the maturity there. I saw that last season from afar. And then I think they got it right with Quinn Hughes as captain. I mean, he is competitive. He eats and breathes hockey, and you want that in the guy that's going to lead your club, even if he's at a younger age. and then Thatcher Demko in net. I think he's a top 5, top 7 goaltender when he's healthy and on his game. So you want to work around that. What I think they have as a team is one that's going in the right direction. What I've seen throughout the league, you guys have followed hockey close enough, you really need all 3 lines that can play against the other team's top 2 lines. You can't, have that 3rd line or 4th line that just can't keep up and gives back all the momentum. So I think they're building that here, and we'll see if that comes together early in the season.
I saw Big Head Hockey point out that there's a dozen Americans on this team. Does that make sense for Quinn Hughes to be a part of this as well? I mean, to have an American captain, you got a dozen Americans. Half the team's American.
I bet you if you polled the players in the room and said, "Where do you think that guy's from?" half
they
of them wouldn't know the country. Yeah. I mean, the game's so international now. I saw that as well, and the first thing I thought was, okay, the game's changed in that sense. It's a globalized game now, and having a European captain or having your leading scorer come from a smaller hockey nation, Slovenia, then so be it. I don't think the players recognize that or think about that, and certainly Quinn Hughes isn't going to feel like he's got to represent the American contingent in the dressing room. They're all Canucks.
Oh man, look at that company man.
You said turn a phrase.
It just hit.
Mm-hmm. Dave, one of the things that we're going to be sorting out here over the next few weeks is who plays with Elias Pettersson, who plays with JT Miller. You have always been excellent at this, my friend. Assuming Ilya Mikheyev is healthy, how would you line up the wingers with the top 2 centermen?
Well, first and foremost, I think that Kuzmenko plays really well with Pettersson. I mean, Pettersson can find open ice. Kuzmenko has this unique skill of getting his stick on the ice at the front of the net. I mean, that's no easy task. Usually you're boxed out or you don't have that ability. So that's a duo. And I know that Rick Tocchet was talking about duos more than complete lines. And, they're going to try some things out here at the start of training camp. For JT Miller, he can drive a line. You'd like Brock Besser to be scoring at his salary cap hit. And so that could be a duo as well. And then you usually filter through that other winger, I'll put it. So, of course, we'll keep our eyes on the lines throughout training camp and the preseason. But, you want to hit the ground running. I noticed that last season, with my time in Seattle, the lines that they had near the end of training camp are the same lines they had 30 games into the season.
Yeah, they were really consistent last year, and boy, did they shoot at a high percentage last year. That must have been a fun season to call last year with the Kraken. Same question on the top 4D. Dave, who do you think should play with Hughes, and how would you slot the top 4 defense?
Well, I've had the opportunity to watch Philip Hronek play on the world stage. Saw him at the World Championship a couple times, and I think Canuck fans are going to really enjoy getting a good long glimpse of him. I mean, he can make a stretch pass. He sees up the ice, not just 10 feet in front of him. So I think it's game dependent, really. If you're going to have Hronek and Hughes together, I mean, that's a dynamic pairing that you're probably not getting in on the forecheck against those two. And then later in games, if you're trying to hold the lead, then you can adjust the pairings there. But, I haven't put everything on pen just yet. Still waiting to see what things look like on the ice.
Carson Soucy scouting report. What can he bring to the Canucks?
Okay, off ice, he's just a fantastic human being. He's a great guy, very easy to talk to, and good old Alberta guy, if you know anybody from that province. Just, hard worker. On the ice, he doesn't try to do too much. 2 years ago, had a 10-goal season, just kind of came out of nowhere. That's not really his forte. He does find a way to sneak in off the blue line and be like as open as a 7-Eleven, it seems, and gets his shot towards the net. But he's going to be a physical defenseman, uses his reach and his size well. When he's at his best, just moves the puck and he's done his job. When he was playing in Seattle, first part of the season, he was with Will Borgen. That was like a third pairing. And then they made a switch halfway through the year and he's playing with Justin Schultz. So having an offensive defenseman on his right side, he'd mind the store. The offensive guy can go do his thing.
So he can handle a second pair minute assignment, do you think? Or is that going to, for 82 games, that going to be too much for him?
I think he's poised to do that. I don't think he has to do that, which is the beauty. And, see how comfortable he is One of the things that you'll look at as a player coming into a hockey team is, okay, what's the defensive scheme? Like, how does it help what I can do best? And so we'll pick up on that throughout training camp. They want their defenseman running up past the tops of the circles. Maybe that's not his best fit because he's good in tight spaces with his reach and his size. But, he could handle, the 15, 16-minute nights.
What did you make of the trade this week?
Thinking about it a little bit more, I mean, it certainly does helps the Canucks. You really do want to have a backup goaltender you can count on, and there's some trust there with Casey DeSmith and the Penguins organization. And when you think about how late in the offseason the trade was made, what the need was for the Vancouver Canucks to shed some salary and bring in a bona fide backup goaltender who can play games if as a number one guy for a short period of time. On all those things, it hits. When you take a bigger step back and you say, "Oh, I'm giving away a draft pick and having to, make it worthwhile to the other team," that's the reality of a team that's up against the cap. So I liked it. It does solve the question: what happens with Seelovs, who I think has got a really bright future, but has to play. I mean, as a goaltender, you are no value in the NHL, sitting on the bench, watching somebody else get the minutes. You want to play, you want to be in those situations so that you're ready when the call comes.
We're talking an awful lot about some of the peripheral players here, but really this team is going to rise and fall on the elite players and being able to do what they do. What's your confidence that everybody, the core players, Pettersson, Miller, Hughes, and Kuzmenko, as terms of offensive drivers, can they all match what they did last year, do you think?
Well, I'll start with Kuzmenko. He's an interesting character. I haven't had the chance to sit down and talk with him personally, but from afar, he just looks like one of those guys that brings energy into the room before the game even starts. And if he scores at his rate last year, I'm going to Bali for the summer. So we'll see how it works out. I think it's a pretty tall order to say, well, he's good for 40. You need a lot of things to go your way, and obviously the shooting percentage showed that. But what I noticed about him as a player is this unique ability to get open at the right time at the front of the net. So I think he's still going to be able to get those chances. It's the finish. Can he continue to vary those pucks? Pettersson's a number one centerman. And I love the fact that he understands that what you do defensively helps you offensively and not the other way around. JT Miller, I think, has calmed himself. He's at peace with coming onto a team that's, as I said, on the rise. And, I think that it's a really important season for Brock Besser. I think he's a guy that's got to score early because I think that his confidence will grow as he scores early in the season. If it's tough for him to get that second goal, and then you start guessing and overthinking things, and that's not good for a goal scorer.
Ask you a Bodog poll question. Does everything need to go right here, Dave, for this team to make the playoffs?
Yeah, I think so. I think health is the most important thing because you look at their top players that we've been talking about, they can change the nature of a hockey game, starting with Demko and net. I'm a big fan of Thatcher Demko, and people know what he can do when he's on his game, but he's got to be healthy and be able to play. And I think that Edmonton's probably the front runner. I think Vegas believes that they don't have to win the division to do well. And then LA really improved themselves down the middle. So now you're looking at that next level. Seattle, maybe there's a step back there. Calgary, I don't even know if Calgary knows what Calgary is at this particular moment in time. And so you've got to be ahead of those two teams and then beat up on some Central Division teams. So there is a path, but I do think that you're right, and the general manager said it. Things have to go right, go well for the Canuck team.
That's the flip side here, guys, is everything could go right for the Canucks, but everything could go wrong for those other bubble teams. We already know San Jose and Anaheim are going to be terrible. Winnipeg and Calgary, who knows what they are? And if Winnipeg and Calgary don't do their job, three teams still need to make the playoffs from the Pacific Division, right?
Right. And Nashville is in a interesting spot, right? They're trying to fill a little bit and also get younger and get some of their younger players some more experience. So, there's that spot right there. There's a wild card spot that someone has to take. And when you start going through each team, you start to separate which teams are going to be the front runners. I mean, Colorado's restocked. Dallas was a handful. And so St. Louis, you think they're better when you look
They're
at
a
them on
wild card
paper.
too. They're a central
yeah.
wild card. Yeah.
So, I mean, it's there. It's enticing.
Yeah.
But there's a couple other teams that are doing the same thing, going through the division and saying, oh, the Canucks are, they're restocking and they're trying to, fiddle with parts of their roster. Maybe this is the year we have a leg out.
Lastly, Dave, Teemu Pulkkinen.
I'm glad you beat me to it.
You were right.
15 goals last season.
Oh, he had half a year for Tractor Chelyabinsk.
Yeah, I mean, even at his advanced age of 31, still not a bad pickup.
Oh, what I was looking through my some hockey DB last night, and there's a Canuck player on this roster that played with Pulkkinen before he turned pro, and I was like, I wonder if this is going to come up, but
but you forgot the name. Come on.
Not going to throw you completely under the bus.
We'll trust you. You can text it to me later.
Okay, yes. I'm going to go through Jokerit Helsinki in 2012, 2013. I'll get back to you, Dave.
Yeah.
Thanks for this, buddy. Congratulations again. Great to hear your voice, see your face. Wish you all the best this season.
I appreciate you guys having me on. Thank you.
This Sick Harrison Price clip brought to you by Applewood Auto Group. And remember,
it's all good at Applewood.